Hello, this is Dr. Charmaine Gregory, and this is the Nocturnist Diary. I am chatting with you post night shift in the car as I wait for it to warm up. I had a little bit of an inspiration or something that's been on my heart, and that is, what is the reason why we have such a hard time changing? And as the new year approaches, we tend to start thinking about New Year's resolutions and goals and make plans for new beginnings. And then by the end of the year, we end up looking back at the list, if we made a list, or looking back at a vision board, if we made a vision board, and realizing that a lot of what we set out to accomplish was not accomplished. And why does that happen? I mean, it just seems that we should be able to immediately make a decision about something and do it, and then that should be it. Hey, Michelle, thanks for joining. So basically, it's human nature to literally resist change. It is much more easy or much more acceptable for our brains to continue at the status quo. Whenever we try to change a behavior, we're going against that natural tendency. And so it makes everything a lot more difficult. Hey, Corliss, thanks for joining. It makes everything a lot more difficult. So, you'd think, I'm just going to talk a little bit about a couple of things that I recently read about that play a role in the reason why we have such a difficult time changing. And there's a huge amount of psychology related to it. There's lots of research that has been done on this particular topic. And I'm not saying that I'm speaking to any of that, because I'm by no means an expert. I just can go by kind of what I've observed and a little bit of what I've read. So the first thing is that, we tend to think that for us to effect change, we need to have a negative emotional platform. And what I mean by that is we tend to think that we have to get to a point where we feel guilty, or we feel, oh my goodness, we have a little bit of a shoddy connection here. But so we may feel something negative, and we figure that must be the trigger that's going to get us going to make this monumentous change in our lives, right? So, we figure, hey, we need to feel guilty, or we need to have fear, or we need to have something negative that's going to push us through. But in actuality, the thing that's going to allow for the biggest effect on our lives as far as change is really having a positive platform. So in order for us to really make a difference, to have a longer lasting change, we need to have a positive platform on which to base that change. So that's the first thing. So we have to have a mindset shift, and we have to think, okay, nothing negative has to be the basis for this. We need to have something positive. And then from there, we can move on to help to take the steps that's going to be necessary in order for us to make that change. The next thing that we tend to do is we tend to want to eat the elephant. And what I mean by that is we tend to want to do the big sweeping change, like all at once. We may make a statement like, I want to get a promotion, right? And you figure you don't necessarily have like the steps in mind in order to get to that point where you're going to get the promotion. You may not be considering the small little things that you need to do in order to improve your profile so that you will be on the radar to get the promotion. So that is just an example. Instead of taking on that big chunk, instead taking on little more palatable or more attainable little goals that will ultimately in tandem lead up to the ultimate goal being achieved. And that is true for any kind of change. So, say for example, you want to be more mindful or more peaceful, then basically, it's not going to be that you're going to go from this person who's never been mindful to someone who is, this Zen individual who finds peace in the midst of chaos of a war zone or something like that. Hey, we're back again. Oh goodness, this is quite the trip. So basically, it's not gonna be where you're just, oh boy, it's not gonna be that you're gonna one day say, I'm gonna be mindful, and then you are ultimately mindful. It is gonna be, I am going to take 5 minutes to meditate and think on one topic, or I'm gonna take to just clear my mind and bring myself to another place, or I'm going to download Mindspace app or something like that, and I'm going to take little increments, and every day I'm going to work up to get into the point where it becomes a natural thing for me to be mindful. It becomes a natural thing for me to seek meditation in all the things that I do, in all my daily activities. And for you to get there, it takes baby steps. But it's not eating the elephant. It is literally like taking small, attainable things and accomplishing those in order to get to that big goal. All right. So the next thing that I realize that we tend to do is that we kind of get trapped in a fallacy. And the fallacy just basically says that, you know, if I don't get this big thing, if I don't accomplish this, then I am not a success. And that is so far from the truth. The truth is that if you were to, again, break it down into small, attainable things, then you will have many successes that will lead up to the ultimate successful thing, which is the change that you are trying to achieve. So, you know, we tend to start with a negative platform, which is the totally kind of counterintuitive, but we should really be starting with a positive platform so that we can have lasting change and not this abrupt change that, you know, maybe you might be going on crash diets or something. So you go on a diet, you do a workout program, and you do it for like, you know, a month, and then that's it. You go back to what you're doing before, and that's why it doesn't last. Now, if you start out with, you know, instead of saying, oh my gosh, I think that I am so out of shape, you know, I don't know how I'm going to change, I don't know how I'm going to do it. If you, instead of saying that, you say, I appreciate myself for who I am and what I look like right now. I am grateful for the ability to be able to walk, to be able to do things. And then say, I am going to have a goal of walking for 30 minutes on Tuesday, Wednesday and Thursday on this particular street or on my treadmill, and I'm going to do that for 2 weeks, and then the next time you reassess where you are, and then you figure out what's the next attainable thing that you're going to do until you get to the point where you're actually working out on a very consistent basis and you are making that long-lasting change occur. The same thing, as I mentioned before, that your body, your mind, your brain totally resists, because we tend not to want to effect huge change on our lives because it's hard, it's not easy. And so if we do this, we start with a positive platform. If we realize that we cannot eat the elephant and we need to have bite-sized pieces in order to accomplish our goals, and if we realize that we aren't to buy into the fallacy that, you know, if we don't have this huge success right away in the timeline that we think it should be, that we are failures. And that is so far from the truth. And if we just take these simple little principles and put them into effect, then we will notice that we can totally be amazing and at whatever we decide that we'd like to change. So as we think about our New Year's resolutions, as we think about how we want to change, I would hope that you would keep these items in mind, because these pointers are just a few pointers that are reality as far as the things that would be stumbling blocks for our personal change. And I would hope that you would definitely think about how you can break down where you're planning on being into small little bits that are bite-sized and attainable, and that you will think of how, in the situation that you are in, how can you start with a positive platform. So I gave you an example, you know, being grateful for where you are, being thankful for the things that are great about you and about that thing that you're trying to change, and then having a plan, small baby steps, as to how you're going to get to that end result, right? So I'm hoping that this was helpful to you. Thank you so much, Gisli, for checking in, and Leo and Eliza and Manny and Ebony. I appreciate your attention and your time. And I think I am pretty much done with the points that I wanted to make. I hope that this was helpful, and I know that I'm constantly working on changing. I'm constantly working on being better and improving myself as far as like personal development, where, you know, how my thought process and my mindset is headed, and how things are going there. And it is a constant work. I mean, it's not easy, but it's definitely something that's well worth it, because the individual that you become when you're constantly working on change is an amazing individual. And hopefully we will never stop working on being better and improving until the day that we have our last breath, because that's going to make us incredible human beings. And if we all did that, we would have an incredible set of humans on the planet to work with and be around and learn from and grow with. So anyway, that is my Sunday morning tirade post night shift. That's probably why I'm talking a whole lot more as I wait for the car to warm up and get ready to go home and take my post night shift nap. So I hope that this was helpful. If it was, please feel free to share it and comment below. I will just reiterate the 3 points again. Number 1, start with a positive platform. Number 2, remember that there is a fallacy that we tend to buy into when we're talking about change. And number 3, don't forget that we cannot eat the elephant, because that's not going to help us to get to where we need to be. All right, Dr. Charmaine Gregory here. This is the Nocturnist Diary, and I hope that you will be strong, be brave, and unleash your greatness. Have an amazing Sunday.